Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. Today we're focusing on VF Corporation. We've got a real collection of recent info here. Earnings, investor events, analyst takes, the whole industry picture. Our mission really is to unpack all of this for you, give you a clear sense of what's happening with VF Corp right now and, well, what it might mean down the road.
We certainly do. There's data from their latest financials back in January 2025, revenue hopes, stock performance up to April 2025, even a detailed due diligence report. Plus, the overview of the company itself, the North Face, Vans, Timberland, Dickies, and those analyst ratings too.
Okay, so it feels like we're aiming for a pretty thorough understanding. The challenges, the opportunities, what's driving these recent shifts. Right, let's get into it. When you look at the recent performance, the financial health side of things, what jumps out first from these reports?
Well, the first thing you notice is it's kind of a mixed bag financially. For Q3 fiscal 25, revenue was looking like maybe $2.7 to $2.75 billion.
Oh.
Now, that sounds like a potential dip, maybe 1 to 3% compared to the year before.
Okay, a dip. And how does that compare to, say, the quarter before that?
Well, Q2 fiscal 25 revenue was around $2.8 billion. That was actually down 6% year over year.
Yeah.
So you're seeing this recent trend of revenue softening a bit.
Right, a bit of a slide happening lately. But if we pull back, look longer term, does the picture change?
It does, a little. Trailing 12 months revenue is about $10.15 billion. That's slightly down from the year prior. But stretch it out to 5 years, revenue is actually up 4.25%. Although, interestingly, over the last 3 of those 5 years, it's down 5.23%.
Huh. So longer-term growth, but some more recent pressure kind of eating into that. That's interesting. What about the bottom line, profitability? That net loss figure, that stands out.
It really does. A net loss for the trailing 12 months of $457.24 million. That works out to an EPS of minus $1.18. Now, Q2 fiscal 25 did show positive EPS of 52 cents. That's way better than the loss of $1.16 in the same quarter the year before.
Okay, so an improvement in that specific quarter.
But the adjusted EPS for that quarter was $0.60, which was actually down a little from the 63 cents. So you see some positive quarterly signs, yes, but the bigger picture still shows a struggle for consistent profit.
Got it. Sort of. Choppy waters. Some positive signs quarter to quarter, but a big overall loss for the year. How does their debt load fit into this?
That's definitely a key piece here. The debt-to-equity ratio is around 3.42. It's quite a bit higher than many of their peers. High leverage.
And high leverage can be risky, right?
It can amplify things, both good and bad. But they do expect to generate about $425 million in free cash flow for fiscal 25, including selling some non-core assets. So that might give them some room to manage that debt.
Okay, so a complex financial picture. Revenue pressure, a big net loss, but some quarterly bright spots and expected cash flow. Now, how's the market taking all this? We saw that stock price drop. What's the story there?
Yeah, that 9.19% drop by April 8th, 2025. That really reflects those financial worries, I think, especially the debt. And look at the recent stock range, $10.07 to $12.10. Compare that to the 52-week range, $10.08 up to $29.02. Huge volatility.
Wow, that's a massive swing over a year. What's driving that volatility, do you think?
It's likely a few things. Investor nervousness about the financials, sure. The general economic climate probably isn't helping either. But you also had that Citi downgrade from buy down to neutral, and they slashed the price target from $30 all the way to $12. They specifically mentioned leverage concerns. That definitely hit confidence.
Oof, that's a big cut to the target. But wait, FactSet data shows an average hold rating, and the mean target there is much higher, like $23.21. That's quite a difference of opinion.
It really is a divergence, isn't it? You've got Citi being very cautious, others seeing more value or potential. This kind of analyst split, plus the price swings, suggests a lot of uncertainty. Investors are trying to figure out if the turnaround plan can actually work against that debt load. It points to maybe a buying opportunity if you believe in the strategy, or just more bumps ahead if you're worried about the debt.
So high debt, economic factors, and some serious analyst doubts are really weighing on the stock. Okay, let's flip to the other side. What are they doing about it strategically?
Right, this is where their reinvent to grow strategy comes in. They had that investor event back on March 6th, laying out the plans for the business and the brands. We're seeing some specific moves too, like Vans rolling out tap to pay on iPhone. That's an effort to, improve the customer experience, maybe drive some sales.
That reinvent plan sounds pretty central. And cost reduction was mentioned too.
Absolutely. Cost reduction is a major part of reinvent. The source material doesn't give all the details, but you'd expect things like streamlining operations, supply chain optimization, maybe cutting overheads. trying to boost profitability that way.
Standard playbook for a turnaround, making things leaner. Okay. How is the broader market, investors and analysts generally, feeling right now? What's the overall sentiment?
I'd say it's cautious. People are watching closely. Can they handle the debt? Can they really get brands like Vans firing on all cylinders again? Vans seems to be a particular focus. But despite the stock being knocked around, the general consensus seems to be hold. That suggests many think there's still value there, or at least potential for recovery.
And the analyst ratings kind of mirror that cautious feeling.
They do. Average rating is hold, 12-month target, around $22.55. But like we said, some are still at buy with higher targets, maybe $23.15 or so. Recent news coverage reflects that too. Some positive notes on past earnings beats, but also, real concerns about valuation and the ongoing hurdles.
So the market's kind of waiting and seeing. Let's try and crystallize this. What are the core strengths VF Corp has, and what are the biggest worries, the red flags?
Okay, strengths first. That brand portfolio is huge. The North Face, Vans, Timberland, Dickies, these are iconic names with global reach. That diversification is a major plus. Their global footprint itself is a strength, and they're actively trying to improve operations and cut debt. Selling Supreme last October was part of that.
Solid foundations, definitely. But the red flags, what keeps trumping up?
Well, the negative net income and EPS are hard to ignore. That's a big one. The high debt-to-equity ratio, as we've discussed, that's a major financial risk factor. And finally, the stock's high beta. It just means it's more volatile than the market average, which adds another layer of risk for investors.
Right, that volatility layered on top of the financial worries. It definitely paints a higher risk picture right now.
Let's zoom out one more time. The industry, outdoor, and activewear. What's happening there? What are the big trends, risks, opportunities? The whole sector is facing headwinds. Economic conditions, shifting consumer tastes, supply chain stuff is still lingering. For VF, revitalizing Vans is critical in this environment. Key trends impacting everyone are things like sustainability, consumers care more and more, and the need for a strong digital presence.
And specific external risks for VF.
Things like tariffs, rising product costs, those directly threaten profit margins, and just the overall economy, interest rates, how much people are spending, that obviously impacts sales. But on the flip side, if they do manage to successfully turn the brands around, invest smartly in digital and sustainability, that's where the growth opportunities lie. That could really shift investor sentiment.
So navigating those outside pressures while executing internally is just paramount for them. Lastly, leadership and the road ahead. Who's steering the ship, and what should people watch out for?
Bracken Darrell took over as president and CEO in 2020. He's leading these turnaround efforts, the cost savings, the brand work, key things to watch. Their next earnings report that's set for May 21st, 2025. And just tracking how well the VF Way framework is being implemented, if it's showing results.
And the biggest potential bumps in the road ahead.
Beyond just general market slumps and, intense competition from Nike, Adidas, Columbia Sportswear, changes in rules around sustainability or international trade could definitely pose challenges too. So, summing it all up, VF Corp is in a tricky spot. Real challenges with debt and brand performance, but they also have real strengths. The brand portfolio is powerful, and they are making strategic moves. The market reaction, the stock drop, the downgrades, it shows the concern is real. Still, that potential for a brand comeback and the efficiency drive, it could lead to a turnaround.
It really highlights that tension, doesn't it, between the immediate financial pressures we see right now and the sort of long-term power of these massive brands they own. And that leads to a core question for anyone looking at this. How do you balance those short-term numbers, the debt, against the potential for a company like this to reinvent itself and really lean into that brand strength?
We hope this gave you a clearer picture. For more granular detail, VF Corp's own investor relations site is a good resource, as are outlets like Bloomberg or CNBC for ongoing news.
And if you found this useful, please do subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, let us know what other companies or topics you'd like us to tackle in future discussions.